Welcome back, Curly Girls, and today you're watching a video with Des, and today's video is going to be about what you should do for the winter for curly hair. I know it can be a lot of misconceptions about what to do with your hair in the winter, but I'm here to give you some tips about what you should do to make sure your hair is bright and make sure it's moisturized, make sure it's not getting dry. So just listen here to Dominican Des, and I will be giving you tips on what to do. So tip number 1, make sure that your hair is being put in protective styles. So what I mean by protective styles, is make sure that your ends are covered. I know right now this is not an example of a protective hairstyle. A protective hairstyle could be putting your hair in braids, putting your hair in buns. It could be 2 small buns. It could be 1 big bun, 1 braid, 2 small braids. Doesn't matter. It's just all about making sure that your ends are covered. Your ends are the driest part of your hair, so you have to constantly be trying to make sure the moisture stays in and trying to prevent it from getting any drier than it already is. Your ends are also the longest parts of your hair, so that makes it the oldest. So you have to be a lot more fragile with it. So just wear your hair in protective hairstyles. And before you put your hair in a protective hairstyle, keep in mind that you have to make sure your ends are moisturized before you put them in a protective hairstyle, because it's almost like there's no point for you to be putting your hair in a protective style to keep it from being dry if it is still dry. You know what I'm saying? So a way you can do that is you can wet your ends and then put an oil to seal it. So that is my tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to make sure that you apply a lot more product in your hair than you normally would, because it's cold and your hair is going to get more dry than normal. Just make sure you just apply more product to your hair, especially to your ends, because like I said, that's the driest part of your hair. So, and just keep in mind to try to avoid wash and goes, because it's already cold outside, right? And then you're going outside with your hair wet. It's not a good idea. 1, you're going to get sick. 2, it's just not good for your hair. Of course, if you know your hair better than I know your hair, so if you think it'll be fine, go right ahead. Just remember to apply more product to your hair, because your hair will benefit during the winter if there's more product. Okay, so tip number 3 is to make sure you're continuously deep conditioning your hair and putting masks on your hair. The winter dries out your hair, so you have to make sure you're consistent with putting deep conditioners in your hair and masks in your hair. You don't want to slack on this during this time of the year, because it's going to cause your hair to get so dry, and the weather is already against you, especially if you're in a state where it gets very cold. You have to constantly be reminding yourself to make sure you put a deep conditioner in your hair. Like I would, during the winter, do 2 deep conditioners a week, but if you feel fine with doing 1 a week, that's completely up to you. But just remember that your hair is going to get dry in the winter, so just make sure you're deep conditioning and putting masks in your hair. Tip number 4 is to avoid alcohol, not as in to drink, but so there's plenty of ingredients. There's plenty of ingredients to make sure to avoid in your products. So obviously, if you don't know, silicone, sulfate, parabens, anyways, but I want to specifically talk about alcohol. When you look at the list of ingredients on the back of your product, check and see if there's any alcohol, see where it is on the list, because they name from the most amount to the least amount in order. So if it's top on the ingredients list, you don't want to use it, because it's just really going to dry out your hair. This is all really about trying to make sure your hair isn't dried out during the winter, because the winter will dry out your hair enough. Okay, so finally, tip number 5 is to shampoo as least amount as possible. So if you don't know, a lot of curly girls just co-wash because it's better for your hair, and the majority of shampoos are not good for your hair. They probably have like silicones in them, and it's like the same thing you use for like dishwashing soap. So I mean, I don't doubt you want to wash your hair with dishwashing soap. So you can just co-wash, which is washing your hair with the conditioner. If you don't feel comfortable with doing that, then that's up to you. Just buy shampoos that don't have those certain products, and Shea Moisture is usually really good for that. There's other ones that you can buy that is good for that, like without silicones or sulfates. So you know, you can just look into that. But a good idea would be to at least just do it maybe once a month during the winter time, because shampooing your hair is really like, can really dry out your hair. But there's natural things you can do to wash your hair. Like some people wash their hair with apple cider vinegar to like cleanse their hair, and that's a really good cleansing for your hair. You can make a do it yourself DIY mask for your hair, to wash out your hair. So that's all really up to you, but I would avoid shampooing as much. Okay, so those are my tips for the winter time for curly hair. I hope you guys will take that and use it. I hope it was very useful for everyone who was watching. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe. I'm Dominican Des, and thank you for watching.